This is Karen with New Cleveland Radio.net, and it is time for Heart Mojo with Melinda Smith. Hi, Melinda.
Hey, Karen, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. So, I understand today is a wine day, and I'm the only one without a glass of wine.
There we go. Do you have yours, Maria? You
I
have
sure
yours?
do.
Yeah, it's been one of those days. So I have wine and then I have coffee. So I have a relaxing and a pick-me-up all in one. I'll
Well,
just jump back and forth.
and that's what your listeners need today, I'm sure. It's Monday. So,
Well, we have a good guest, so I'm sure she will help lift them up with her stories because she has some things she's been through and she has moved forward and really takes the bull by the horns and gets out there and makes things happen. So with that, I'm going to introduce Maria Jeancola. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm just peachy.
Those peachy. See, that's what I say when my day's been like a little off. So
Yeah, well, peachy's my thing. I have a shirt that says just peachy.
perfect.
I found it,
I
I
love
had to
it.
buy it. So
It's great.
we met through Network 52, which is a local Cleveland networking group, both East and West Side. And I was always so impressed with everything that you put together is always a class
Oh,
act.
thank
It
you.
really is. And I did find out though you've had your challenges. And that's really what we're all about is dealing through getting through life's challenges and how we come out the other side and what we can make that's good out of it, out of that
Yeah.
journey. So I would invite you to start wherever you want to start and share your story.
Whew, that's a loaded question, a loaded intro.
Did you bring the bottle of wine too?
I almost did. I actually thought about it and I was like, that's a little excessive.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I appreciate it. I thank you for having me on here. I'm always glad to help, and I always like the opportunity to share my story because, I have been through a lot, and I won't say, oh, I've been through so much that, it's just, the obstacles I've overcome have been just, something that no one could do. But, to a lot of people, even little things are something that,
Absolutely.
people can't overcome. Long story short, I grew up in Amherst, Ohio, have an amazing family, big family, Italian on one side, Lebanese on the other, big family gatherings, lots of food, lots of wine, birthday party, it doesn't have 10 people at it. There's 30 or 40, and, I was blessed to grow up in a family of really hard workers, really loving people, very entrepreneurial family. I didn't really know that at the time. I grew up wanting to be a television broadcaster.
I can
Literally was everything I ever wanted in life from about 5th, 6th grade on. Funny story too, I just found my old high school portfolio tape, which was hilarious. But I went to University of Toledo for television broadcasting, and let's just fast forward to the fact that I absolutely hate the lecture style of learning. I'm a very self-starter, need to learn it myself, do it myself, hands-on kind of person. And I got really wrapped up in bad things with bad people. And I say that, and a lot of people are like, wait, what happened? So I actually got kicked out of college, academic suspension, and found myself back in the Cleveland area. And let's fast forward, pregnant at 19. Lucky that I wasn't in jail or dead. And when I found out I was pregnant, I had a moment, and it was just kind of like that take your breath away sort of moment. And I heard a voice that just basically said, this is your angel sent from heaven to save you, and you need to change your life. That was that. So I just gave myself chills when I said it. My daughter, my oldest, Nevaeh, her name's Heaven spelled in reverse for that reason. I always say she was the angel sent to save me. And, I got a job at Red Lobster, which wasn't exactly the greatest, but I mean, it was work. And ended up having her by myself, raised her by myself, got us our first apartment. And when she was 6 weeks old, I landed a job working for an internet company, working from home. I was only making 26 grand a year, but it was better than Red Lobster, and was able to be home with my baby. And then a year and a half later, moved out to San Diego. And that was really the kickoff to my entrepreneurial, career. And there's a lot that happened after that. But, that's kind of the beginning of it all, that until very recently, I never shared publicly. I was ashamed of it. But now I realize it's what made me who I am. And I never wanted to, you know, let my kids find out about how I used to be. And then I realized that it was the exact opposite. I wanted them and everyone else to know exactly how I used to be, because I'm not like that anymore. And I don't want them to. I don't want them to fall down that path.
Right. Well, but I think I'm a big believer that whatever happens, that adversity just turns your path, and it's how you walk that path that makes a difference.
Absolutely.
what
I mean,
you've
everything
done.
happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Say that. You've probably heard me say it. How many times have you probably heard me say that at Network 52? I always say the more good you put out there in the world, the more good that comes back to you. I mean, I'm a big believer in karma, and both good and bad. And, you know, I try and lead a mindful life and set a good example for really anyone around me.
So what'd you do in San Diego?
So it was an internet company. We did website design and online fundraising, had a custom piece of software for nonprofits, churches, and ministries. And we also resold Microsoft and Adobe software licenses and refurbished hardware and, you know, LCDs and things like that. So very, very IT techie type of company. There was a lot of learning experiences in that, but, you know, when it all kind of came crashing to an end after 8.5 years, I was really kind of bitter about it, and, you know, felt oppressed and, you know, underpaid and not appreciated and all these things. And then I look back, and now, you know, as I've gotten older, I realized that I can credit pretty much everything that I know about business and everything that I've grown from, you know, that I've grown my businesses and myself into from that job and from the challenges that I faced, because I got thrown into basically the corporate and IT world, and I knew nothing. I was literally a college dropout and a waitress or a lobster with like a baby, you know.
And you moved to San Diego, which is huge.
Which is interesting though, because I worked for them for 1.5 years, and they recognized my talents, and I didn't get it until fairly recently, probably like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I finally understood what someone saw in me, because I've seen it in people now. And it's kind of where Network 52 kind of really started taking off, because, you know, people ask me for advice all the time, and they ask me, you know, for help and for this and for that. And my number one piece of advice is always to be resourceful. And I never really knew where I got that from. And then I realized that it was that job that I felt like I was thrown to the wolves. I felt like someone was constantly coming down on me. I was constantly getting in trouble. I, you know, was never doing anything right. And then I realized, holy moly, you just set up a call center in like Manila, Philippines, and a team of, you know, programmers and web designers in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and all the, and like, how? I don't know. I just did. And so they realized that I just never really said no to anything, which has bit me in the butt a couple times, but also has, you know, turned out well. But yeah, they offered me a huge raise. Huge was to $40,000 a year from 26, which, I mean, I was 20 years old. It was awesome. And
in San Diego?
Yeah, to move to San Diego and manage their San Diego office.
And the
so to take
income
over
in
their
San Diego is hugely different than Cleveland.
Yeah, you know, I lived in Fallbrook. It was the northernmost city in San Diego County. So it was comparable to, like, you know, I know this is a Cleveland podcast, so comparable to, say, like Rocky River, Bay, Avon Lake, you know, a little bit more pricey, but it wasn't downtown San Diego.
Right.
Yeah. So it had all just kind of started from there. And at that time, I ended up getting married and had 2 more kids, was in a unfortunately very toxic relationship for a very long time, and moved back home to Ohio. Worked from home for another year after I got back. They needed me still, and I needed the job. And then that was when I finally decided I never wanted to work for anyone again. I wanted to start my own business. So kind of branched into the health and wellness industry. This was pre being into bodybuilding and things like that. And I just never really turned back.
Well, you had health challenges as well, I think.
It did.
Right?
Yeah, I did.
That helped move you into kind of the health area, didn't it?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been an athlete. I've always enjoyed, you know, healthy food and working out, and, you know, was a competition cheerleader growing up, things like that. But it wasn't until there was like phases of it. When I started the health and wellness business, it was because somebody basically told me what multi-level marketing was. And I have very positive things to say about the multi-level marketing industry, or,
absolutely.
you
Me
know,
too.
whatever anybody wants to call it. You know, people can call it a pyramid scheme or whatever they want, as much as they want. I personally am not involved in any of them anymore because it consumes my life, because it's a really bittersweet quality. I can't just kind of like do something a little bit. Like, I have to be the absolute best at it and really successful
But
and do,
it's
and
also that business is like that. It's just the type of
it,
industry.
every business really is. It's
Right.
just that one has a stigma, you know, around
Mhm.
it that I wish would kind of go away. But, you know, a lot of people don't really do it the right way. And I was lucky to have a really good mentor, and then, you know, a lot of mentors, and really just a good business background myself, and really learned how to, it doesn't matter. I could be selling protein shakes or body wraps or hair care. It didn't matter what it
Mhm.
was. If it was something that I believed in and was a good product or service, you know, I knew that I could be successful at it. So I was doing really well. And then along came Dr. Nick, who I know you've met before.
Mhm.
And he's an old friend from high school who went through a pretty crazy experience himself. Had a really severe lower back injury, and while he was playing professional football, and was told he had to have a spinal fusion surgery to live a functional life, and ended up finding a doctor that practiced this form of chiropractic that nobody had heard of, chiropractic biophysics, and started a chiropractic clinic, and basically reconnected with me 10 years after high school, and knew my business sense, and kind of picked up on my marketing skills, and asked me to work for him. And I said no. About 2 weeks later, somehow I was there like full time, and gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, and pretty much, you know, offered me ownership to just really start to grow this company with him. So that's really where my turning point was. And all of that happened during the time when I was just starting to kind of heal from, you know, emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
medically. I lost almost 86 pounds.
I know, it's
Um,
amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. Lost almost 86 pounds, no surgery, no tricks, just hard work. And then I had some health, you know, issues going on. I found out when I was pregnant with my second child, my middle son Alexander. Um, I was 6 months pregnant, and they found that I had cervical cancer. So thankfully it was caught very, very early. I'm so lucky and
Lucky.
fortunate.
Mhm.
But it was terrifying, and
Oh, absolutely.
it continued to progress, and I wasn't able to have surgery or do anything until 6 weeks postpartum. So had just had a baby, and then you had to have surgery 6 weeks later. And then, you know, then that was, I mean, that was absolutely terrifying. And then it did end up coming back a couple of years ago. And I told you about that, you know, Melinda,
Mhm.
but I'm good. I'm healthy now, you know. And then on the weight side of things, I think that's just something that I struggled with a lot, as a lot of people do, as a lot of women do. Um, we all have this idea in our minds of what we're supposed to look like, because it's
Mhm.
what the media portrays and what society portrays and what's on a magazine cover. And when you open your Instagram, everybody's, you know, hair, makeup, nails, skin, and, you know, body is perfect.
Because they
And
fix it. They can fix those pictures on Instagram.
yeah, true. And in real life, I mean, not gonna lie,
Yeah.
in the last couple of years, I have learned that a little bit goes a long way in the aesthetics world. And I have found, you know, as much as I hate sitting to get these lashes put on one by one every 3 weeks for 2 hours with my eyes taped shut, I don't have to put on eye makeup, and I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's just, I think that right now I'm in a really good place. You know, I did an interview similar to this, maybe 3, 4-ish months ago. Actually, it might have
Mhm.
even been long. It might have been around January time. It was cold out still. Um, and it was like deep and emotional. And, you know, since then, so much has happened and so much has changed in my life. And it's just crazy because, you know, people constantly just feel like they're stuck. I feel like, whether
Mhm.
it's a project at home, or in their career or the way that they look, you know, trying to lose weight, any of that kind of stuff. And you really just have to understand that really with time, everything can completely change. I mean, your life can completely change in an instant, both good and bad. And
But
that's
you just
what
have
just
to
keeps
make a
happening.
choice. Once the thing,
Yeah.
whatever happens to you, it's a choice of how you move forward. And
It is.
you looked at your life and said, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to, you know, I look at this as a gift. Your daughter was a gift and made a change in your life. And that seems to be your pattern of things. Even if
It
you've gotten
is.
pushed down, you take it and go this direction. You go
do.
up with it, which is, you know, an amazing thing to do. And people have a hard time with that. But I think if you sit, and I believe, knowing you for what, 3-4 years
Yeah,
now,
it's been a few
that
years now.
you just kind of stop and go, okay, here's my situation.
Yeah.
How do I move forward out of it? And I
So
think
it's
go ahead.
funny that you, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. It's funny that you say that because unfortunately, it couldn't be any more polar opposite. Now,
Oh, really?
in a sense, no, but it's interesting though, because it makes me stop, and things like that, you know, make me stop and wonder, okay, am I portraying something that isn't realistic? Or am I just really that good at kind of keeping myself together, dealing with my own things internally and not publicizing struggles until I've overcome them?
It could be that. I remember when you first started doing bodybuilding, like you didn't really talk about it. And then one day there you were, like it's almost like it just appeared, even though I know it didn't. It took a lot of hard work to get there.
I have learned to not, to not like really kind of pump something up or, you know, really talk about something until it happens. A big phrase that I like to use is to speak it into existence. A good friend of mine, my college roommate, Brittany Baker, who is a bombshell female entrepreneur as well. She just moved to Florida. Her dad was Al Bubba Baker. They were on the TV show Shark Tank, and they got a deal with Damon John for their deboned baby back ribs. And you know, it's funny because that was who I met. I met her in college. We both basically dropped out together and moved into an apartment, which was a terrible idea. And we had a black and white composition, you know, the old, like grade school, like black and white composition journals. We had one and we drew all over the front of it, and it said Operation Cali with all these little hearts and stars and smiley faces. And we were determined to start our own businesses and move to California. And it's funny because we came from entrepreneurial families, and very loving families and structured families too. But both of us were just like wild, like flying by the seat of our pants, doing whatever we wanted to do kind of thing. And it's funny because both of our parents are kind of similar in that I know they were disappointed in me. I know that, you know, that our parents were disappointed in both of us, not really speaking for her, but, you know, she'd say the same thing if she was sitting here. However, they had faith in us and they knew that we were strong enough that we were just going to take our mistakes and learn from them and overcome it. And we did. And here we both are. We laugh about it all the time. We're like, oh my gosh, do you remember that time? And I'm like, yes, I do. I don't want to remember that, but I do.
Well, but I think as you move forward, I tend to disagree. You know, maybe you started that way, and I don't talk about a lot of my things till I get through them, and then I talk about it, because that's the whole point of this podcast, is living through those challenges and showing how you can move forward and showing the positive that can come out of it. But I think you focus. Maybe you don't even realize that you do it. Maybe
That's
it's so
probably
much
true.
a part of who you are that
Yeah.
you just, and I do the same thing. If I have a challenge that comes to me, I may not be always talking about it, but I'm going to face it and move through it. And I think,
and I do, yeah. And that's, you know, and that's, like I said, I try and learn how to be more mindful, because when I want to do something, literally everyone that knows me, my kids, my family, my staff, you know, anyone else I work with, they call it Maria's zone, the zone. Like, it's weird, like real weird. Unfortunately, sometimes the zone creates like the most amazing things. Like, I can get something done that would take somebody like a year in like a month, you know, but my big struggle, and I'm actually glad that we're having this conversation. And again, one of the reasons why I really like having these types of, you know, interviews and conversations, whether they be a recorded or something live, or it's just, you know, friends drinking a glass of wine together. they make me realize things that are like right underneath the surface. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And I know I always did, because I never wanted to see faults or admit faults or anything like that. And I finally got to the point where I was like, Maria, just listen to what people are saying, you know? And even the last 5 minutes of our conversation just made me realize, you're right. I do take care of it and overcome it and, you know, face it head on. But the problem is I go into this zone, I go into this little bubble, and I don't realize how it's affecting my life around me. I don't realize that I'm in my office for 18 hours and like, I literally did not come out, like, at all. I mean, during the beginning of March until the end of April, we'll say, to be conservative, was probably one of the worst times of my life. And this is fresh and probably the first time I've even talked about it, but my kids and I were self-quarantined for 63 days. That is a long time.
It's a long time.
Really long time. My youngest son, Calvin, is 8 and he has really severe respiratory issues. And I wasn't the paranoid person that's like, you know, don't breathe on me. Oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. I was a mom, and my son has been hospitalized several times for an asthma attack. And we didn't know what this virus was going to do. We still really don't. Like, is it even there? Like, what happened though, too? Like, can we talk about that for a second? Like, where did it go? But no, I mean, it is still there. And, you know, I fought hard to keep my businesses afloat. And we had to lay off employees. You know, I didn't take a paycheck for months, I think it was. And I didn't want to tell anyone that. Like, I wasn't embarrassed by it, but I didn't want anybody to feel guilty that, you know, I'm still chugging away, like trying to do all these things. But I mean, we did that so we could keep, you know, our staff employed and keep the business going. And it was really, really hard. But trying to get the PPP loan and the EIDL loan and run a business literally from my house and not being able to leave and having to wipe down groceries and make sure my kids are okay and like homeschool my kids. Oh my gosh, like it was insane. It was awful. It was depressing. It was sad. I actually didn't realize all of that until like after it. So it was, oh gosh, when was this? I want to say this was March, the week of March, like 14th, 15th, I think was the start of the week. It was a Sunday night. And I was on FaceTime with someone and they made a joke because I had on a camouflage shirt and I don't really wear camo. I have nothing against it. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of camouflage things. And they made like a joke like, oh, haha, you're wearing a camouflage shirt. And then that was that. On Thursday of that week or the next week or that same week, excuse me. We were on FaceTime again. And he's like, oh my gosh, how did you find time to do laundry this week? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it was the most random comment. He's like, you're wearing that camo shirt again. And I was like, I haven't changed my clothes in 5 days. I didn't come out of my office except for like a few minutes at a time, grab maybe something to eat. I was in straight like survival mode. And I learned after talking to someone that it was a form of depression. I mean, it was awful. I didn't sleep for almost 5 days. Like at all, maybe slept a couple hours. And I felt like I did it. I'm like, I saved it. I saved the business. We got our PPP loan. Like everything's fine. You know, the kids are all in one piece. Like the house didn't burn down. Nobody has COVID. Like we did it. But then I look at what happened during those 5 days and I'm like, it was necessary. I needed to do it. But that really gave me a new perspective on my life in general. And I don't have to be the one to do everything. And I don't have to be the one to save everything. And I don't have to be the one to always say yes and to always be there for everyone and to completely put my own self and life and kids to the side to help other people. I make other people's problems my own and I don't realize it because I have a good heart and that's just what you're supposed to do. And it's been a really interesting year so far. There's been a lot of horrible in 2020. But I would say in terms of growth and just kind of self-reflection and things like that, this year changed me forever. I mean, literally for the rest of my life, I will be changed because of the situation that we were all faced with and the way that I handled it, because I'll never handle it like that again.
Well,
Marie, what I noticed that you're talking about is all these changes that you've been through, and all of us go through changes, maybe not as drastically as what you're going through. And we don't realize until we sit down one day and start talking about it. And we say, how did I get from A to where I am today?
Right.
And what I love about what you're saying is that if you dig deep inside of yourself, you can be the person you want to be.
Oh yeah.
But that could be a different person today than you're going to be tomorrow.
100%. Well, and it's funny that you say that, Karen, because, and I'm trying to remember if we met in person, because you look familiar, your name sounds familiar. Did we ever meet? Did you ever come to Network 52 or no? Okay. So
Karen, where did you meet me at? I'm sorry. Where did you meet me?
Met you at the senior event up in Beechwood.
Boomer Bash?
No, not the Boomer
No.
Bash. I thought maybe we were all in the same network.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe there was like yeah. Well, the reason that I asked that is because my networking group that meets every week, I end every meeting with my favorite quote, my life motto. It's live and give like no one else now, so you can live and give like no one else later. And what you just said means a lot to me, because that means that I am living my life the way that I want to, intentionally, and, mindful, and at times it's really, really hard. Like did anyone notice my glass here? Cheaper than therapy. I thought you would like that. Plus it matched my shirt, which we can talk about that too. So my daughter made this for me today. She started her first business today, which has been very exciting.
That is.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to slow down. And coming out of my mouth, for anybody that knows me or anyone that's watching this now or after, they're like, oh, what did she say? I'm fast paced. I got to keep moving. I cannot sit still. I have ADD. Like, I need to be doing something. Like, even this is hard to not like look at the little like palm tree that's like over here. Like, oh, I should share this to Facebook. Or, I mean, but, you have to just slow down. And yesterday, actually, I did that. And today I did that. My daughter's mine. I have sole custody of her. She's a spitting image of me, both physically, mentally, attitude.
And challenging.
Yeah. You know what though? She's 14. She is, and everybody says, oh, my child's the best child ever. And she is so mature for her age. It is incredible. I don't know, if I'm just lucky. People always say, oh, my kids are so stressful. Oh, I got to do this and that. And I'm always like, my kids are the easiest part of my life. And I say that, and I'm careful sometimes when I say it, because people get like kind of like rude when I say that, like, oh, well, yeah, it must be just so easy. Or, because you can afford this, that, or the other. And I'm like, well, but it's because I work really, really, really hard. And my kids respect the heck out of me. Like, really, it's pretty incredible. Like, my son drew something, my 8-year-old drew something. Oh, it's right here, actually. That's so funny. I was like gonna try and remember exactly what it said, and it's sitting right in front of me. It says, it's this little card, and it says, I love you, Mom. And on the back, it says, to Mom, I love you, from Calvin. He said, thank you for helping me with my life. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom. Bye-bye. And the inside, it's a picture of a laptop, and it says, I love you. I know you work a lot, but I love you. You help me with my life in school. I love Mom. You're the best mom ever. I love you, Mom. And from an 8-year-old, and I don't know with the virtual background if I kind of,
you can see it
in front of me, that says a lot, it really hurts me and like hurts my heart when I realize that like 8 hours went by and I didn't even go out and be like, hey, does somebody want me to make lunch? But then I realized that like my daughter or my other son or even my own 8-year-old, like they fixed lunch. Or, the other day I went down there and they were all just like, they were playing Twister and they were playing a board game together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's like 10:30. I'm still in my office. Like, what am I doing? But they're very self-sufficient. And they don't expect, and it's kind of hard to say this for like a kid, but like they don't expect handouts. Like they want, my son wanted a $30 video game like a couple weeks ago, and he came in my room and he's like, hey mom, can I borrow $30? And I said, for what? And he's like, a video game? And I said, no. And he's like, okay. And I said, no, come back here. And he's like, what? And I said, you can't borrow it. I'm not going to give it to you, but you can earn it. And he's like, oh, okay, how? And I said, we can mow the lawn tomorrow, front and back. And he was like, all right, fine. He mowed the lawn. And then would you know it? It was a week later. He wanted another video game. He comes in and he's like, hey mom, can I mow the lawn? You know, and it's like, they do have, you know, they have nice things, and we go on trips, and, you know, COVID kind of threw a wrench into it. And it was a week before spring break and we had to cancel our trip. I was taking them to Puerto Rico because we have a pact that, I have two little fun pacts with my kids. One is, we vow to go on a trip once a quarter. And a trip could literally be like a night at Mohican or something like that. Or one time I surprised them and took them to Fort Lauderdale, literally packed their bags, and they found out like the day of, you know. And then the other one is with my daughter, Nevaeh, is we go to at least one concert a month, and usually it turns out to be like 2, sometimes 3. But, you know, you have to have those things where you focus and dedicate, you know, to slow down in life, because I'm literally the worst at that ever.
I think that one thing, the advantage to COVID was it forced people to slow down. I mean, you were trying to slow down once a quarter, spend time with them, but in comparison to what you've gone through now with them, there is no comparison for any of us.
No, there's
we
not.
were literally forced, and it was very hard. Karen and I have had this discussion when I was stuck in the house. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's not that I never spend time home, but I come home in the evening and I'm here for a few hours and I get up and I'm gone the next day, right?
Well, you're always out and about. Like, you're always somewhere and, you know, always doing something and all that. See, I'm contrary to what people believe. I am home most of the time.
But you're working.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. But I do have, you know, the luxury, as we'll call it, of being able to, you know, go downstairs and, you know, go have lunch with the kids, or, you know, decide to, you know, go outside and throw water balloons around in the middle of the day, or set off some firecrackers like we did the other, just for no reason, you know, like it's nice. I like it. Like when we had to homeschool, I'm like, how the heck am I going to homeschool 3 kids while I'm working? We set up, because my home office has a big like U-shaped desk. And so we set up little stations, and while I sat here and worked, because I'm really good at multitasking, I actually get more done when I'm doing, you know, more than one thing. They would be sitting there doing their homework, and, you know, we would take little breaks and things like that. But, you know, again, kind of give myself a little mom pat on the back here, you know, when, especially with homeschooling, because there really wasn't as much work as there was when they were physically in school. I feel like maybe the workload was the same. It's just, you know, it's not one teacher trying to teach 30 kids. And so you could get things done a lot faster and all that. But they, all of them actually, when they got their assignments, like the first day, they would be like, all right, I'm going to sit down for like 2 hours, mom. I'm going to go do all my math homework for the week so that it's done. And I'm just like, live like no one else now, so you can live like no one else later. Like, it's written on their school books. Like when I cover their books, I like put that on there, you know, I mean, they know that. And it's, you know, it's refreshing, and it's exciting, and it's nice. But yeah, like there's just so many more things that you realize, especially in conversations like this, that you want to change and do better and do different. And, you know, it's life, right?
Right. Well,
So
I have a question that, you know, I have to ask. What made you decide to do bodybuilding? Like, what made you go that route? I know you lost the
spit my
weight.
wine out. That was
Well, only because I was competitive fitness a long time ago. So I know what kind of work it takes. And I didn't have children, and I didn't have a business. I did work for somebody, and I put in a lot of hours. But I know what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to do that in the mix of everything else, that you needed one more challenge for your life?
So you have to remember, I was promoting a health and wellness product at the time. And really it was like a health challenge, a weight loss challenge, things like that, healthy foods and products. My sister, my oldest sister, Melissa, who both of my sisters and my brother, I mean, my sisters are both amazing, entrepreneurial little go-getters themselves too. We have a lot of fun in this family. But she was into CrossFit, and this was, what year is it? 2020. So this is 2015-ish. I was going through my divorce. Really, really hard. We lived together for 2.5 years during the entire divorce, and it was not pretty. It was really hard. And I was depressed again at that time. And it was sad. And my sister was doing CrossFit, and there was the stigma around it and all these memes and like people making fun of CrossFitters and all that. And like, I mean, I jumped on like the bandwagon joking with my sister, not really, you know, I'm in hindsight, it probably did hurt her feelings. And, you know, I'm sorry for that, but you know, it was funny, you know, and she can take a joke. And one time she convinced me to finally go to her CrossFit gym with her. And I was like, okay. So I went, and it was awful. And I never went back. Until like 6 months later, she's like, come with me again. They're at a new location now. You'll really like it. You know, come on. And I was like, okay. So I was walking out of my house, and my still husband at the time happened to like see me like walk out of the house. And in my head, it's so funny every time I say this. I'm always like, people probably think I have like actual voices in my head, but I heard this little voice like kind of say like, you're going to show him. You're going to show him. And I went to this gym again, and it was completely different. The first time was all like body weight exercises. It was like push-ups, pull-ups, burpees, like almost threw up, like hated my life, was sore for like a week. I couldn't understand why people did this to themselves. Like I didn't get it at all. It was terrible. But they were doing deadlifts. So for anybody, or either of you, I'm sure Melinda, you know what that is. You know, it's basically a barbell on the ground, and, you know, good form. You bend down, you pick it up, you stand up straight, you put it back down. Okay. I've never done deadlift in my whole life. And so I'm like, well, I want to try it. And, there was like a barbell sitting there, and I did the whole thing with the PVC pipe where you like learn the form so you don't hurt yourself or whatever. And, you know, I got into like form, and I picked the barbell up, and everyone was like, how'd you do that? And I'm like, did I do it wrong? And they were like, that was really good. And I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm like, you picked up weights really well. Good job, Maria. And they're like, how much did that weigh? And they were like 205 pounds. And I was like, is that a lot? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, can I put more on it? And they're like, what? Because for me, I'm just like oblivious to like what's going on. I'm like, well, that was fun. Like, that was cool. It didn't hurt. Like, wasn't that heavy? Let's keep going. Well, that was the start of what got me into like weightlifting in general. So I was more into the strongman powerlifting kind of sport than before bodybuilding. I mean, I knew what bodybuilding was, but I'd never been to a bodybuilding show or anything like that. So fast forward to, okay, wait, I gotta think my years again, 2016. Yeah, 2016. Someone local who used to own a gym around here invited me to come in because he knew like I'm really big with like social media, and I would tag that I was there and all that. And he basically like tried to turn me on to bodybuilding. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's okay. Well, I was at my first bodybuilding show, and I was standing next to this really well-known coach in the area. I mean, we knew each other. I'd seen him at the gym and things like that. I was comfortable enough to like, hey, mind if I stand with you, whatever. And I was looking at the girls on stage, and a lot of times people in that situation will look at those girls on stage and think, God, I wish I could look like that. I would, whatever. I looked at that, and I was absolutely just fascinated. I was watching their movements, and I was watching the sparkles on the suits, and I was watching, you know, these perfectly tanned bodies and these, these cap delts and abs, and like the ones that really got me were like, it was like the masters, like the 35 and over, and then 45 and then 50. And these women have stretch marks down, you know, all covering their body, but they look unbelievable. And I'm like, just watching it, just in complete awe of these women. And they're up there in literally nothing, and smiling and confident and poised. And I know how much work it takes. And I looked and I thought to myself, you can do that. You can do better than that. Like, you could beat every person up on that stage right now. And I looked over to my left, and I said, his Big Mike, Eli is his name, who's now one of my dearest friends. I looked over at him and I said, hey, Big Mike. He's like, yeah, girl. So are you taking new clients? And he's like, yeah, who's looking for one? I'm like, I am. And he just looked at me and he's like, you want to do bodybuilding? And I was like, And he was like, all right, cool. Meet me at the gym on whatever, it was like Monday at, 8 a.m. or whatever. I was like, all right, all in, like, just boom, there's Maria's, addictive personality and has to be the best at it. I failed 3 years in a row. I called it my prep curse. I injured my shoulders literally almost a year, like this was even before too. I think you were around in the days when I was in my sling and stuff too. But yeah, I tore this shoulder, ended up getting a couple screws put in it, rotator labrum repair, then tore the other one, got 5 screws put in that one, retore this one, got 3 more screws added to that one. And it was literally every single time I tried to start prepping for a show. And then finally, in 2018, I was like, well, 2017 is when I started. In 2018, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. We got this. Like, we're gonna do it. And I was in a posing class with really well-known, one of the judges around here and posing coaches. And I didn't say it to be, what's the word, narcissistic, or, like I was gonna be better than anyone or anything like that. I said, he's like, oh, you're doing your first show? Because my posing was terrible. Oh, it was so bad. I looked like a baby giraffe. And he was like, oh, it's bad. I have the video. I look at it and I'm just like I look at my posing from my first show and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why did anyone let me do that? Everyone's cheering at me like, you look great, Maria. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I did not. I won. So I must have been okay. But
you did, I remember.
Yeah. But so I said to him though, he's like, when are you doing your first show? And I said, April of next year. And he was like, all right, well, don't be too hard on yourself. It's going to be tough and this, that, and the other. And I said, oh no, I'm going to win. And he was like, okay. And now I had like a dozen people on my team and like my coach and everyone, no one said it to be mean. They were like, Maria, no one wins their first show. And I was like, I will. And they're like, okay, Maria. And I'm like, watch. So I did. I competed. I did 3 shows, 1 in April, 2 in May. And I won my class in all 3. My coach nicknamed me Showstopper. By the 3rd one, it was kind of funny. I was backstage lining up, getting ready to go on stage. And one of the girls was like, Maria's in my class. She won the last 2. And I was like, good luck. You look really good. I mean, they did. These women looked absolutely incredible. And I'm honored to have been on stage with all of them, and thankfully in the sport of bodybuilding, there's competition and there is jealousy and things like that. But most of the people are like I am, where we are helping each other out backstage. Like I'll fix a girl's suit, like literally, who is standing in line in front of me, who's about to, like, I'm literally going to go compete against. And like her suit's twisted, or like her spray tan's messed up, or her earring fell out or something. I'm still going to fix it. Like, I mean, she has just as good a chance as I do, But so I got into it and I loved it. What?
That's about giving back. I mean, you're helping. Yeah. It's only going to reflect well on you to help another person.
And that's the thing, like, because there's been too many times in my life where I've had to like pump my own brakes because people will say that I'm egotistical or I'm narcissistic, or, I'm, talking too much about this success that I had. I earned it. So, I don't say it because I don't say it to talk down on someone. I don't say it to act like I'm better than someone. I say it because I'm freaking proud of myself. And over the last, few years, I've had to work on the delivery of that, because I had enough people be like, Maria, like, quit talking about that. Or Maria, like, watch how you say that you own this or do that or whatever. And I do, I check myself now and I try and like kind of tone it down. But when you're successful, or when you are standing up on stage after an 86-pound loss, mother of 3 with 13 screws in your shoulders, severe scoliosis. And at that time I had herniations in my low back at L4, L5, actually herniation at L4, L5, L5S1 was bulging. My L4 nerve root was impinged, no curve in my thoracic, reverse in my neck, 2 disc herniations in my neck, which is ironic because what I do for a living and the company that I'm part owner of is that, but I never took time to take care of myself. I was really, 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 really proud of, being able to do all of that,
Well, I think that's a lesson that women in particular need to learn. That, you put a lot, if you think about, one of the reasons why I wanted you on today is you've hit just about every life's challenge, and I get it because I've been there too. Though I did not have an early pregnancy, I had trouble getting pregnant, so my kids were born later in life. But you know, we have a lot of similarities, and you've met these challenges, and each time you've moved forward. And so
And
there
that's
was
what I try and do. It took me a long time to realize that, like, when you are faced with a challenge or a problem, you need to use it to kind of to capitalize on it, you know,
Right.
and to do something with it. And I'll kind of lead that to the one thing that I was kind of excited happened yesterday and today. And we kind of talked about a little bit, and I joked about my shirt.
Mhm.
She's probably gonna kill me when she hears this, that
That's
I
okay.
told everyone this, but she got grounded. She failed a math class, which she gets good grades, and she's so smart. She's way too smart. I mean, she's literally 14. She's a sophomore in high school. So that shows you age wise, like,
Mhm.
you know, where that kind of comes in. Because she tested as gifted and talented. Actually, both of my older ones have gone through the testing now. They tested as gifted and talented, and, you know, I let them choose their own classes, and my middle son chose all advanced classes and all of that. And I'm so proud of them. But this year freshman year was hard for her. And then it was also hard for her as a 14-year-old girl with a mom who's constantly working. And she has a lot of freedom because she deserves it. Well, she didn't deserve it when I found out that they used the third quarter grades as your final grade, because fourth quarter was all during COVID. So it was pass fail.
Yeah.
So whatever your grade was, third quarter was your
Great.
final grade. Well, that sucked for her.
Yeah.
So she got grounded. And then she also got in trouble with her cell phone, something stupid. You know, I ended up taking her cell phone away because she got in a car with a boy, which, I mean, 14, it's going to happen, whatever. But my plan was, instead of just grounding her and making her hate my guts for like 2 weeks, was to not take her phone away at all and make her take summer classes, at least math, with a tutor that we know, actually, 2 times tutoring. And that wasn't enough for me. I needed there to be something else. And I know she's going to be driving in about a year and a half. So I told her, instead of getting in trouble and getting grounded and getting your phone taken away, you need to take this class. I'm going to give you a tutor. It's like, I mean, it's like literally, I'm teeing it up to be like easy and a success. And I said, but you're going to start a business. And she's like, what? You're going to start a business? And she's like, are you kidding me, Mom? And I was like, no. And at first, I mean, it took me like a month. I got so much like kickback from her. And I set it up, like, I gave her all these different ideas and different things that she could do. I stumbled upon, trying to see if I have any. I stumbled upon something really incredible. My family owned a grocery store and meat market growing up. And in the early 90s, my dad started a screen printing and embroidery business. He bought basically the inventory of an older one. And the store's been closed since 1997. I'm in the process of actually buying it and reopening it, because why not start something else, you know?
What's one more thing, Maria?
I know,
one more thing?
it's been a process. It's been about 6 months now. It's in Lorraine. It's a really cool building, but it's an eyesore. And it's almost embarrassing too, that it's just been sitting there for so long with a broken window and a for sale sign, and nothing's ever been done with it. So I finally want to do something with it. There was a barber shop. Delmonico's Barbershop was right next to it. The building is still there, so I'm going to reopen that. The downstairs of the store is going to be a liquidation store, because I do liquidation sales already. They're fun. And then there's two bedroom, 1 bath. Yeah, in my spare time. And there's two I actually had 2 people pick things up. One person picked up a fire pit. The other person picked up like a toy, like ride-on motorcycle. Goofy. But upstairs has a couple apartments, so it's definitely, you know, it's a good business to do. It's just kind of going to be gradual over time. But when I started going through everything in there, I started going through these filing cabinets, and I started finding these iron-on heat transfers. And most of them are made by Roach, the brand Roach. And I'm a big crafter. I have, you know, a heat press and rolls full of vinyl. Really, I'm not at the beach, just in case I faked anybody out. You know, I have a sublimation printer, an embroidery machine, a screen printer, like, I mean, it's fun. You know, we love making crafts. And I renovated my own kitchen during COVID. That was a terrible idea, by the way. Don't renovate your own kitchen, but I will show you pictures later.
It looks
beautiful. Oh,
good.
it's gorgeous, beautiful. It was 90s looking, and now it's, you know, white cabinets on top, navy blue on the bottom, and
It
new
looks good. I
countertops.
saw it
Yeah.
online.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I told her that she was going to start a business. She was going to start a like an Etsy online store kind of thing, a vintage t-shirt shop. And, or actually for me, it wasn't going to be a t-shirt shop. It was going to be just selling these. And I was going to make her write a business plan, learn everything she needs to know, get an Etsy store, an eBay store, website, domain, email, all that stuff set up, figure out how to track inventory, make her inventory all of these, really, because I haven't had time to do it. And I found out that they were insanely valuable. Like me and my friend grabbed a couple funny ones that had like funny little sayings on it. And there were some cool like Cleveland Browns ones, like Harley ones and, you know, Corvette. And we're like, oh, these are so cool. Let's see if they work. Led Zeppelin, right? So I'm Googling like, you know, what temperatures to, this was last year sometime. I'm Googling what temperatures to press them at because we couldn't figure it out. We ruined like 20 of them, right? And now that saying that, now knowing what they're worth, I'm like, oh, when I figured it out. I saw the copyrights on it. I knew where they, you know, they'd been sitting there for 30 years ish or whatever. Just didn't really think anything of it. And I accidentally stumbled on like an eBay listing of one because I had typed in like the item number of it. This one thing on paper was $30 on eBay. And I was like, I have at least 10,000 of them, at least. Oh my gosh. And so then we started realizing that there was like, you know, value behind it. And then we started doing more and more research and I'm like, oh my goodness. So yesterday, actually, she spent all day with me. We had to go move some things from one of my offices and we just ended up spending the whole day together and she's still grounded. She has no cell phone. So she had no choice but to talk to me in the car. And it was amazing. And it was so exciting. And she just, until just now, because we have this going on, I was actually surprised she didn't want to be in here for this. She likes to sit in on my interviews and stuff when she gets a chance to come to a studio with me. But I got this smile. Like, I'm so proud of her today that I can't even like put it into words. So by June 30th, she has to have her business plan done. That's part of this whole kind of thing. I gave her the template, obviously, and we've been working on it together. She was in my office all day today. She started getting excited about it. Finally, she realized, you know, that this was like a viable, like I could make a couple $1,000s this summer as a 14-year-old, you know, like just selling these. And we were just going to sell just these, like literally just the sheet itself, put them in an envelope and mail them. And we called today the 800 number for Roach that was like still around. So you have to understand these copyrights on here are like 1981, 1972, 1976. Like, I guess I should have really thought like, hey, Maria, like you have a really collectible thing here. So we dialed this 800 number thinking we were going to get, you know, customer service. The owner of Roach, like the company since like the 60s, answered the phone. And I was like, well, he wasn't the original owner, but like the current. I was just like, this is your company? We were on the phone with him for like 20 minutes. We told him what we were doing. He thought it was the coolest thing. He and my daughter were talking about different ideas. He was like telling her like, okay, this is how you do this. Use an X-Acto knife on the glitter ones to like make them work since they're like, you know, 40, 50 years old. And, you know, instead of selling them, you need to make shirts. You need to like buy shirts and start making them crop tops. And he was like giving her examples of other people like in the country that are doing this and around the world. And she's like writing down notes and stuff. And so we completely scrapped the entire initial plan of selling these. And I'm like, we have a goal today. You need to make 10 shirts. We are going to take pictures with them. We'll model them tonight. We'll put them on mannequins. I have a little light box and a professional camera, and we're going to like start our Etsy store and everything. And so that's when I knew this was happening today. This Led Zeppelin one here was one of the ones she made. This is my favorite one she made. Do you know, I told her I was going to wear this for my interview. Do you know what she said to me?
What?
You can buy it from me.
I love
Good
it.
girl.
Are you kidding me? So yeah. So, I mean, it just goes to show though, like when you stop and you set good examples and you really just kind of take the time to, you know, like challenge your kids and challenge honestly your coworkers or your staff, your employees, your spouse, whatever, like, you know, it really is very rewarding for yourself, but you can take all these experiences and these things that you've taken. So that's, you know, to both of your point, she had this challenge. She got in trouble. She got grounded. Instead of taking away her phone and not doing anything, I completely flipped it. And what I told her was, if you want to play hard, you need to learn how to work hard. End of story. You want to act like you're old enough to have the, you know, this brand new cell phone and all of these Snapchat and apps and Instagram and go in cars with teenagers and go places when I don't know where you're at. You want to act like that? If you can learn how to do it responsibly and you can back it up with showing a good hard work ethic and, you know, showing that you're responsible enough and mature enough to actually be the way that you're acting, go for it. And that kind of ties into like when I'm talking about like this accomplishment or whatever, I've earned it. I'm able to say that, you know? So here she is. She's got, let's see, we've got Led Zeppelin. She made a little angel. She's getting like creative with it. She's
Oh,
got
let me
these.
see the angel. Oh, there's a Heart Mojo one there waiting to
So
happen.
we're gonna make you one. I'm gonna find you. We have a ton of heart heat transfers. I'm about to like scream for.
Well, I
So
like
come
the
here.
heart
So
with
this
the
is like a
angel in it.
little angel thing. Like she picked. So I made her pick 10. So I
That one right there. That
this
one's
one. So this one was a really neat one because most of them she just like slapped, you know, the thing right in the middle or whatever. This
No,
one
I
she
like
took
that.
3 transfers. These ones are 2 different colors, little crop. She put
That
them
is
up here.
adorable.
Check this out. Look at the back. There's
Oh
a
my
one on the
goodness.
back too.
Very nice.
Very cute.
We'll make you one. We'll make you one. But yeah, she did a whole bunch of them. She did a Harley, cool Harley one. This one she still has to cut. She's like, I don't know if you can see, it's gonna make me disappear. She wants to cut this one up and like tie it and add something to it. I don't know who's this one, not Miss Piggy. What's her name? This little.
Oh, it's from Elmer Fudd. That's
There you
his
go. That's
girlfriend.
it. Yeah. So
So
I mean,
the
there's a whole.
shirts you have on with those little glitter things, I have to tell you, I probably have original ones still. I'm a t-shirt person. I save all my t-shirts.
I would
Literally,
love to see it if you do.
I have all
because-
my concert shirts, everything.
Oh
All
my gosh. Oh, I would love to see it. I would love to. That would be awesome. Yeah. In going through all the stuff I found.
I have an ELO glitter one, kind of like your Led Zeppelin.
I love it. Some of these are like absolutely hilarious though. Like the Village People one is
Yeah.
hilarious. It's fantastic. There's a lot. So I mean we'll be getting actually they'll be online tonight. The ones that I just showed you will be online for sale tonight to kind of kick off her first thing. We have another one of these Led Zeppelin ones. This one I'm keeping though because it's
Well, it's special. You
means a
wore it.
lot.
And you bought
Those
it.
are- yeah, well, that's what's funny. Well, that was the other thing too. I said, I respect your hustle, first of all. Second of all, we're business partners here. I was like, the benefit of owning a business, you know, you got tax write-offs, you're allowed to actually take and use some of your inventory as long as you track it properly. I was like, hold on a second, but
You're advertising right now. That's what
right,
you're doing.
exactly. That's what I said. But no, I did. I gave her $500 today to buy her first order of t-shirts. I have so many t-shirts in my house, it's ridiculous, but she's like, no, I want to have like crops and this. So it was interesting though, is that she threw a curveball at me. She decided that instead of just like plain colored and like, cause that's what I was thinking. She's like, no, we need to get like, you know, like the ones, like the little like cami type tank tops that have like a little like white piece of lace here and they're like a crop top kind of thing that maybe have like some little flowers or tie dye behind it. And then like put this on that. And I was like, that's a really good idea. And so now she's like, she started a spreadsheet with like ideas of like, you know, other little shops and stuff that are doing things like this. And then placed her first order. She used 2 different sites and placed her first order for, it was just under or over, I can't remember, right on 20 under or over $500. I don't know, she's tracking it all in QuickBooks. So
What's the name of her company?
So she's actually flying under the Jeancola's Market business. So I started that when I started the process of buying the store because it's a resale shop, like liquidation store. And I had already established so many like little things here and there and already had the LLC and, you know, the vendor's license and all that. But when I told her today, that's funny you asked that because I said, honey, you don't have to use the Jeancola's Market name. I said, you can, you know, come up with your own name or, you know, there can be like a DBA or something like that. And she's like, no, mom. She's like, I want to use our name. I'm like,
oh, that's good.
Very nice.
So exciting. So it's going to be fun. We're excited. There's heat transfers all over my house, which isn't fun, but
it's okay.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
So before we close, tell me or give us one, besides your catchphrase, because I know your catchphrase and you reported that already.
I won't use that one.
Give me just one piece of advice that you want to throw out there for people to remember what it's taken you to get from that 19-year-old pregnant woman to who you are today. Like, what advice would you give someone who said, oh, you know, I'm pregnant, I can't get through this, oh my God, this happened to me, and you know, all the things that go on in life that we live through? What would you say?
Be resourceful. 2 words, easy. Be resourceful. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to figure everything out yourself. It means you can go to other people for help. Find other people that were successful at whatever you're trying to accomplish and talk to them about it. Because most people have a story. Most people have overcome something to get to that level of success that they're at. They like to talk about it. They like to have people ask them how they did it. I have absolutely learned the most valuable lessons from people that are in the same industry as I am. It's not wrong to go ask another insurance agent. Yes, that's another thing I do. I have life and health insurance brokerage.
Well,
But
I already knew that, but
I'm like, for everybody, they're like, what the heck else does she do? It's like the rabbit pulling tricks out of the hat. I'm like, I got another one. I got another one. You know, I just look for people that are really successful in the things that I'm trying to get to, and I just pick their brain. I'm not going to steal their idea. And the other thing is too, you heard me say this. Yeah, there's no competition. No one is the best at anything. I do not care what anyone says. Like, two people in the same industry, or two people with the same goal, or two people, whatever, like you can help each other. Look at even in bodybuilding, like, yes, two people standing on stage next to each other in the same class, they are competing for the same thing, the same trophy, but you can still learn something from that person. You know, you can still cheer that other person on. You can do a different show. I mean, there's lots of different things. So being resourceful. I wish I could remember the other quote. I just recently listened to it. It's something along the lines of, set a goal so big that set a goal so big that you can't stop until you achieve it, or something. I'm gonna have to find it. I'll find it, and I'll email it to both of you. I can't remember what it is, but I said it in a presentation I gave like years ago, but I heard it and I was like, oh yeah, that was really good. But yeah, just kind of being resourceful and not allowing yourself to just be defeated, because why?
right. Well, you only have one life.
Like our friend from Network 52, Carrie, says, the health related, she says, if you don't take care of your body, where are you going to live?
Right. Absolutely.
Kind of thing.
Karen, anything we forgot to ask? We've already gone an hour. I can't even believe it. We just zipped.
Who, me? Talked for an hour? No.
I know. Imagine that.
on.
Imagine ça.
All I can say is that, you know, your message is so important for so many people to be listening to today, especially during COVID, when we think that everything that we had is gone, or everything we want is not achievable, but it is. And
It
it
is.
just is a different path that we're going to take. And like you said, you know, ask somebody for some help. There's nothing wrong with asking
No.
for.
And it's also okay to tell people no when you're asked for help constantly. You can give people help without doing it for them. Oh, did I learn that one? You know, COVID was a reset button. It was our, you know, everyone's saying, oh, the new normal. No.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, I did it first, actually, until I really thought about it. I'm like, no, I don't like this whole new normal thing. And I don't like, you know, then somebody's like, well, this is how it was always supposed to be. I'm like, no, COVID literally gave all of us this new perspective on everything and on life. And on one hand, you know, like when the kids, you know, that didn't get to walk, you know, for graduation, didn't get to go to prom and things like that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're posting your prom pictures on Facebook. That's just so terrible. I'm like, do you have any idea how cool that is, that they get to grow up the rest of their life and be like, I graduated high school the year of COVID. Like, that's what my daughter said. She's like, you know what this is going to be like? This is going to be like how great grandpa used to be like, I had to walk to school uphill both ways, you know?
Barefoot in the snow.
Yeah, barefoot both ways in the snow. And now she gets to be like, I was locked in my house for 63 days and my mom did not let me leave. Like,
this will be the story they tell their children.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Later.
So you have to find the good in all these things. And yes, this is I feel like this podcast, this interview, this opportunity, this conversation may have earned itself almost an entire chapter in my book, my forever long book that I'm writing. And everything keeps happening in the world to change it. Like, oh my gosh, I need like a book that's allowed to evolve as it goes. But you both, you know, thank you both for having me stop for a minute and make me realize, you know, at the beginning of this, I guess I thought I wasn't doing, you know, a good job at kind of handling all these challenges and, you know, not thinking about them as I was going through them and not dealing with it until after. But you both made me realize that that's not true. I do face that, you know, head on, whatever it is, whatever that is.
Well, whatever
you know?
the challenge is that comes your way.
So now I'm going to be more cognizant of it moving forward. And it's something I can be more mindful of. And, you know, when I have a challenge, I'm going to remember sitting here with, you know, Karen and Melinda and, you know, middle of June 2020, you know, with my fake background here the day my daughter started her first business, and, you know,
That right
remember
there's
when
a
I have
big
a
thing, 'cause
challenge.
it's going to be a big business, and I can say you hearted hair.
I know, right? Oh my gosh, Jeancola's Market. It is there. The Etsy store is up actually. There's one item in there. There's a vintage Penton racing jersey on there. So I'm excited. This is fun. So thank you both. Seriously,
you.
I like these opportunities because
Cheers
it
to
really, it gives me the chance to look into myself and help others, but also kind of reflect on what's going on in my own life and just sort of take a step back. So thank you.
Thank you. We
It's been-
appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
great.
Okay,
Anytime.
I'm giving you cheers.
Cheers. Whoops.
Karen, virtual cheers for you, because I know you
Heart
did.
Mojo to everybody. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.